Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is envision. Today's verb was suggested by the viewer Luis, and I just want to say a quick thank you for that suggestion. Now, let's move on and discuss what this verb means. Envision means to visualize someone or something. The word visualize might be new. You may be able to see a root word of visual, right? Visual has to do with a picture. So visualizing is picturing oneself in a future situation, or it might be picturing something, imagining some type of future possibility. You should know that envision is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, all you need to do is add ing to form envisioning. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by just adding ed. Our base verb, envision, ends in a voiced sound. The consonant N is a voiced sound. And this means our ed ending is just going to make a D sound. So I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. It should just sound like this. Envisioned, envisioned. Right? There's one phrasal verb for us to talk about, and that is to envision as. Okay? Our meaning here is really the same. We're picturing someone or something in the future. However, this future something is generally different than what is happening currently. Okay? Let's take a look at an example sentence. He envisions himself as the starting point guard. This sentence came to me. I made a few changes to it to make it a little more simple to understand, but uh, I borrowed it from an article. So it was talking about a particular basketball player who is not in the starting five, right? It's a person who might come in as a substitution. This person, as they think about their future and their future with this particular team, they see themselves as as a starter, or in this even more specific, the starting point guard. I want to note here that it's really common to see reflexive pronouns used with this phrasal verb. That reflexive pronoun generally comes between the verb and the preposition as. Okay? So, a reflexive pronoun is used when the subject and the object of the verb are the same. Okay? So, here he is doing the action of picturing something, and he's receiving that action as well. Okay? So, that's why we have himself. Other examples of reflexive pronouns might be myself, yourself, herself, themselves. Okay. Now we're going to move on and do a little verb tense practice. Today I thought it might be good to review how we make WH questions in the simple present. So in many of my videos, I review how we do a yes or no question, but I wanted to spend a little more time here with what I like to call more information questions. So these are questions where we cannot just say yes or no, right? We're going to have to provide the person asking the question with some more information. Now, as a quick review, in the simple present, we're generally describing habits, routines. We might also be talking about facts. Okay? And to make a more information question, right, we're going to start with a question word, and then we have to pay attention to our subject. But before the subject in the sentence, we're going to use either do or does. We're going to use do if the subject of the question is I, you, we, or they. Okay? But we're going to use does if the subject is he, she, or it. Okay, so question word, do or does. Then we have our subject and then the base verb. Now, you can pause my video here and practice making some questions. I've set this up so we could do lots of of different examples, but it's to give you a little idea of how we're going to build that question. But now I want us to focus on our verb of the day and some more examples. So, first, let's talk about making a question about time. Okay, for that, we want to use the question word when. WHEN. Okay, and again, I'm going to follow that pattern we just discussed. When do you envision beginning the project? Okay, so here, maybe a supervisor, a professor, someone else is asking, like, what do you picture for starting this in the future? Okay. Let's look at asking about a place or a location. To do that, we're going to use the question word where, WHERE. Where does she envision studying abroad? Okay. So, as a part of many people's college or university programs, they choose to study for a semester or period of several months in a foreign country. And so many times that's called studying abroad. So we want to know in her mind, what is she picturing? Okay. We can ask a question about the manner in which something is being done. We use the question word how for this. HOW. How do you envision success? Right? So maybe we're talking to someone who always has a really positive outlook, right? We kind of want to know, what are you telling yourself? How do you not let your mind go to a rather negative place? Okay. Now, let's talk about asking for a reason for something, right? We're going to use the question word why. WHY. Why does he envision bad things happening? What's the reason, right? And many times with that question word why, we're going to have an answer that begins with because, or that includes the word because. Finally, in following our pattern here, we have question words about things. This can be called a determiner. For that, we use the question word what. WHAT. What do they envision doing professionally? Right? Maybe we're talking about some children or teenagers, right? We want to know, what are they picturing for their future careers? Okay? Something you might notice with many of the patterns here is that I was using gerunds after this particular verb, and that's going to be very common. So in my question about time, beginning might look like a verb, but in this question, the word is a gerund. So we're describing the activity of beginning or starting something. Same thing with the word studying in the second question. That is also being used as a gerund. Now, let's talk about making a question about a person, okay? Particularly when we're asking about the subject. So we want to know who is doing a particular action. So we're going to use that question word who, but our pattern is slightly different. So when we ask about the person responsible for an action in the simple present, we're going to go to the third person singular. So let's look at our example question and I'll explain. Who envisions this being a failure? Okay, so here you can see the S on the end of the verb, right? And you might think of that in the simple present, in the affirmative with he, she, it. He envisions, or she envisions this, right? We're going to use that third person form of the verb here in our simple present questions. And that is because the question word who is both the question word and the subject. So it has two functions or two purposes here. That can throw people a little bit and can make making questions a little more challenging. But now I think we're ready to move on and talk about just one related word today. And our related word is going to be the adjective form, envisioned. Okay? So we talked about how this can be a past tense verb as well, but or participle. Most of our participles can be used as adjectives. When envisioned is used as an adjective, it means seen in the mind as a mental image. Okay, so we're describing usually something that is seen in one's mind. So an example of this might be, this strategy will drive the team to our envisioned future. Okay, so here envisioned is describing future. That's a noun. So that's another way we can know this word is an adjective, right? So here maybe we've gotten together, we've discussed what do we picture our team to be able to do or accomplish, and now we have a plan, a strategy that's going to take us to the picture we have in our mind for the future. Thanks again, Luis, for making the suggestion for today's verb, and thank you all for watching today's video. Have a great day.